Tonight on the podcast I'm down, TOS Rewatch. We watch the historical method in practice by a master practitioner. It's the Space Seed.
Fuck you, Doug.
Hail, Metal Nation! It is we, Tim, Doug, and Matt, and we are continuing on this episode of Podcast Them Down, our Star Trek TOS Rewatch, Metal Rewatch, where we evaluate the metalness and quality of every episode of Star Trek, the original series. This episode is the Space Seed, I guess, which sounds like cosmic jizz, and already I made it so we're gonna be demonetized. No, you beat me to it because you said fuck you, Doug.
Yeah. Tim, I would like to just correct. I mean, I hate being pedantic, but I would just like to correct you here. It is not our Star Trek the original series rewatch. It is the Star Trek rewatch. We're going to watch every episode of Star Trek media. We're just starting, of course.
Do you know when the first series. Star Trek episode aired?
Something 1966?
No, on Podcast Them Down. It was June. Quite early into the first year, and we're at episode 60 something.
But it's
we're
22.
Not done with season 1 of the first series.
Well, when all the accounting's done, it will all be done.
And I'm also sorry if we were in the fucking goddamn Kurtzman verse. This would be 2 episodes into season 3. I'm sorry that we don't have simple 10 episode seasons to watch. This is a real classic 26, 30 episode season. So keep your goddamn pantses on.
Here's a quick metal discussion I want to have very quick.
Okay.
So nowadays, 10 episodes seems to count as a season. Okay. Mm-hmm. How many songs or how long counts as an album now?
It has to be an hour, right? Like a regular LP?
So Metallica's 72 seasons is like 77 minutes.
It should have been 72 minutes, but yeah, no, you're right.
As a rule of thumb, ballpark, I'd say 8 to 12 songs, 40 minutes to an hour.
Okay, that's fair. I'd buy that.
I'd buy 40 minutes, but it seems like albums haven't shrunk the way TV shows have.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge for me because if you got to write an hour's worth of music, that's more songs you got to put on your album. And then it costs more to make, and then you still don't get paid by Spotify. So, but listen to Podcast Them Down on every platform, including Spotify. All right, there we go.
All at once. Know, that's actually, Tim and I are big fans of the old defunct radio show and podcast called the Big O and Dukes podcast. And they had a maneuver. The maneuver is you listen to the podcast, you get some drive-through, and you take off your shirt and you eat the drive-through food shirtless while listening to the Big O and Duke show. And so the Podcast Them Down maneuver is to get every device you own, stream, play the podcast simultaneously from multiple devices while you're drinking fancy water and pantsless.
That's why the cameras stop.
Yeah, that's why it's
mid-torso.
Stop right here, because we're not just the presidents of the Podcast Them Down Club. We're also I'm lost. Doug, help us out. What's going on in
Space Seed? Go.
All right, so we open with the Enterprise coming up quickly on what we learned is a derelict spaceship. Spock is quite confident it is not an Earth ship and is immediately proven wrong, which Captain Kirk takes great pleasure in. They identify it as a DT 5000, DT 100 class. That's been left on automatic.
This is another weird point because, again, it serves no purpose of the story. But Kirk is like, yeah, that's a DT 500. And Spock's like, no, it's not, asshole. It's a DT 100. like this is supposed to mean anything to anybody.
Oh, and for new listeners, I am, as usual, watching the episode for the first time while you talk about it.
Of course. And so we quickly, knowing, I mean, as we all know, as we can all remember, the DT-100 was one of the premier ships of the 1990s. So they say, well, this is, our records are spotty at best from the 1990s for reasons we all know. But they remind us that the eugenics wars, I feel like what's the point of even prefacing this thing? Because if we're alive today, we're lucky enough to have lived through it, right? But the eugenics wars happened, a strange and violent period in our history.
Didn't the eugenics write that song "Sweet Dreams"?
No, that's the Eurythmics. And
do I have a laugh on here? This is as close as I have.
Yeah, it was. The eugenics wars were part of the format wars, right? Like, where is it going to come out in CD or cassette or laser disc, digital audio tape? It's all in there. So they begin examining.
The format wars were. It was a kind of eugenics when you get down to it.
Yeah, well, I am watching the remastered one, so the. I'm already at the break. So as they pull up on the thing, they it's a great shot in contrast to the other shots. Okay. You can see Leonard Nimoy's makeup very clearly. And
okay, so there's a beauty pass of the two ships, and they're just very confused why it's out that far. And Spock speculates maybe it's an old Earth ship being used by aliens. A weird thing for Spock to say, as he himself is an alien. But they speculate what's going on, and then fucking McCoy comes up and realizes there's there's heartbeats at least, but they're very faint and very
unlikely to be human.
Yeah, 4 beats a minute.
Maybe they're listening to Pink Floyd.
So maybe, I mean, we don't know what MP3s, CDs they brought with them on the DT-100.
Hold on, I joke I wrote in my notes and forgot about.
Oh, shit.
All right, so after Bones makes that comment, quip, well, Bones is a plant-like celluloid life form, so he shouldn't be overly judgmental.
I need to add the laugh on here. Wait. There we go. I do have it.
So
and we'll drop in the episode that references right below. Thank you.
Yeah, do a hyperlink to understand what Doug's talking about. It's like pop-up podcast him down. And so that's it. They go on alert. They decide to figure out what's going on. And that's the end of the teaser.
And they mentioned Morse code, but never a translation of said Morse code or what it's emitting or why.
Maybe they know Morse. I don't know.
They know what it sounds like. Yep, in the chamber. Yeah. Let's go.
I already swooshed. I'm in here.
All right.
Well, so we have retreated to the chamber to to rate things. I'll go ahead and start. It wasn't bad. I mean, they've set the bar so low in previous episodes. I was pleasantly surprised by how not bad this was. Okay. I do like it was pretty metal to take pleasure in other people being wrong all the time.
Okay, that's the arrogance. That's a good point.
So I'm going 7 and 7. And that's also the score I'm going to give it. 7 for quality and 7 for metal.
We should start a podcast when done drinking club where whenever we mention a 7 and 7, the people at home, especially if they're driving, should drink a 7 and 7. I too am going to give it a 7 and 7. There's lots of good development. There's not so much action. There's some good quippiness. The remastered edition has that nice beauty shot of the ship and the Enterprise. It's not bad. It's tantalizing.
Yeah, and they go to it with shields up, fully armed, which is unusually. It's almost a detractor that they're responsible. But I'm going to stick with 7 and 7.
All right. Yeah, they seem really nervous. I mean, all they know is that there's a ship floating next to them that's hundreds of years behind them in technology. So of course, go in ready to fight.
Right, that at most is being used by, it's a derelict human ship being used by aliens.
Who have 4 beat a minute heart rates. I mean, what are they going to do? All right.
All right, back to the con. Hit it, Tim.
All right.
See, we're being quick, Tim, just like you wanted.
Thank you.
All right. Now here's where the brakes are going to fall off. So, there is a captain's log. We learned that a full hour has elapsed since they saw the strange vessel. Our presence alongside is still being completely ignored. Although our sensors continue to show signs of equipment and life, there are no indications of danger to us. And of course, immediately what Kirk says after recording the log, there has been no indication of danger to us. Weapons department maintain battle stations. All other decks stand by. I don't know. Why?
He must have been read I forget what the last episode was that we just watched, but he must have been read the Riot Act.
You know what? You're right, Doug. This is 2 episodes from Court Martial. And the last episode was the Return of the Archons, where Kirk and company did nothing but get jumped and fucked up because they weren't prepared. This now makes total sense why he's acting like this. He's gun shy. He's literally gun shy.
He's playing it safe, and that opens you up to peril, I think, even more than being cavalier at all times, as we may or may not see.
Yeah. So they've been able to scan. They can tell that there's like 60 or 70 bodies. McCoy has no idea if they're human, if they're aliens. Nobody knows. Spock has read. I guess he went out to a window and read the name on the side of the ship. It's the U.S. Botany Bay. They checked the registry. There is no SS Botany Bay, but of course, as we all know, after Woodstock in '99, there were no records kept for many years. So, who knows what happens?
Dumb ship name, but Botany Bay is in Australia, isn't it?
It's in Australia, yeah. But actually, it's a very telling ship name, which we need to talk about, because why would they name their ship that? But anyway,
is the name in any way deterministic to some of the thought that happens in this episode? Because it sure seems to be.
Yeah, it's just very okay. So, all right, they talk about the eugenics wars, which I don't know about you, Doug. I think we can just refer our audience to the many Sabaton songs about the various battles of the eugenics wars. We don't need to get into, the sides. What happened, because again, we know it and we lived through it 20, 30 years ago, right? We were just kids. Kids.
And when it started to happen, I remember when I said, "Here comes the rain again."
Tim,
Sorry.
I remember I was so nervous. I felt like I was walking on broken glass. Okay.
And Spock is nice and snippy here. Not that Vulcan doesn't have its own history that he's conveniently ignoring, but your last so-called World War.
I mean, I watched those episodes of Enterprise. I know that was worse than any goddamn eugenics war I ever saw. So they decide that this is just so weird. They decide that they need to go over there. But they also decide that they need a historian because they're dealing with a historical thing. So they go find Lieutenant McGivers, MacGyvers. All right. They have no problem remembering anyone's name but this chick. And for some reason, no one can get her name right. And it seems to be intentional.
I think Command, it probably is, but I think Command also read Kirk the Riot Act for getting too close to his staff, and he's overcompensating here. Because remember, he didn't remember people's names in Return of the Archons either. He's like, go over there with that one.
He's really shaken up from the court-martial thing. Doug, in court-martial, one of his best friends betrayed him. Clearly, he's learned if you don't make human connections, you can never be betrayed. So we go to MacGyver's quarters, and we immediately see a bunch of red flags. She's the historian, apparently an expert on late 20th century Earth, and yet her quarters are filled with Roman artifacts. I believe there's a picture of Napoleon in there. The only time period that doesn't seem to be covered whatsoever is the 20th century. Like, there's no Pearl Jam poster. Like, there's no picture of Dana Carvey on Saturday Night Live. There's no, picture of George H.W. Bush and Ross Perot debating. It's not the quarters of a 20th century expert at all. That's an immediate red flag.
She seems to have a thing for manly men.
Yeah.
I think we pick up on pretty quickly.
I mean, I don't want to jump ahead, but I think she definitely, through the Starfleet archives, has read a bunch of trad wife Tumblr posts. Because she knows what she likes, and the 23rd century ain't it. But we'll get to that too. So they go over to the ship. Can't believe we've been doing all this just to get over the ship. They get over the ship. Again, I don't need to describe it to you. It's very clear what it is. We've all seen these ships before. It has atomic power. It has transistors. Kirk wants to tear this baby apart. Lieutenant McGivers, seeing a fucking room full of frozen people, surmises it might be a sleeper ship. Like, we all know, Marla. We all know.
And Scotty is in perfect form here because Kirk asks for his opinion, and he's like, beats me, what's happening?
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? So, apparently, by beaming on or being awake, or somehow they've triggered something on the ship. And there's a handsome gentleman with dark hair, and his heartbeat starts increasing. McCoy is concerned because he's waking up. And they're trying to figure out who this is. Kirk suggests, like, maybe this is the leader. And they're like, yeah. I'm totally making it up. She was like, yeah, the leader was often revived first. That would help him decide if they should continue. Okay, now there's a part of this that just really troubles me. Okay, it's Ricardo Montalban is the guy, right? Ricardo Montalban, a very famous actor from Mexico.
Hold on, Matt. You're not about to call them out on race blind casting. This show was 60 years ahead of its time in doing, clearly.
Okay.
I think if you were watching closely, you could watch me cringe when I got to that part.
I'm
done with the act, by the way.
So she looks at Ricardo Montalban, who I believe actually, Doug, is very ethnically ambiguous, especially when he's lying in his silky, frilly lace thing. But she said, he looks like he's from northern India, probably a Sikh. And
Right,
I'm
even
just
though
like,
he embodies none of the visual signifiers have said, yes, okay.
I mean, there's nothing about him that looks sick in any way, except he's like a human, I guess. I mean, most sicks that I know of are human, but beyond that, yeah. So that happens, and there's a malfunction. There's a bunch of dust, and the life signs begin to drop. They don't know what to do. Kirk,
They ask Scotty.
yeah,
And
Scotty.
he says it'll take an hour to figure out.
Again, unhelpful. This man is dying in seconds, apparently. So that's a very unhelpful hour, Mr. Scott. So they they break into the compartment.
He couldn't wait to tear it apart.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's that's true. He kind of slides out.
Yeah, but he didn't need to, because he smashes the glass and then opens the flap, and then it slides out.
Then figures out how to open it.
Yeah.
He didn't try opening the door first. He just smashed the window.
Okay.
Tim, they can't stop to explain absolutely everything to us.
Right. Also, remember, McCoy has just said he will die in seconds. And then he's the person, the gentleman, whomever the sick gentleman, says, "How long?" And
12 inches.
Kirk immediately understands he's asking how long he's been sleeping, and he gives him critical information that he's been sleeping for 200 years. And then, and only then, do they bother calling to beam them up. Now, I'm no doctor, I'm not an EMT, but if someone had seconds to live and you need to open the thing, wouldn't you say, "Hey, we're gonna open the fucking door, get ready"? And why can't they just beam them out of the glass? I mean, they can beam through the ship. It's 20th century technology.
It might, given the fragile condition of them and up, because we know they'll beam in exactly the pose.
Right, yeah, because wherever you want. So maybe he has to stand up where they can't beam him out. It's the 23rd. That's right, Doug. It's the 23rd century. There's no attitude control. All right, and that's the act. I wonder who this gentleman is.
It's Ricardo Montalban.
Well, yeah, we know that, but they don't.
So Matt, what bridge? So Marla notes that the sleep cells were necessary in space travel until about the year 2018.
Right.
When first contact was when?
So I believe first contact was in the 2060s.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And we also know from the second season of Picard that the Europa mission is just making it to. I honestly think that a lot of technology must have been lost in between the world wars, and so we have to kind of forgive Marla McGivers here for her understanding of history. I think what's going on is, okay, here's what we know. We know that in 1996, because Voyager goes to 1996, it's pretty much like our world. We know that 2024, according to the Gabriel Bell episode with Deep Space Nine, was kind of like our world. We know also that 2023, from the second season of Picard, although that might have been a parallel universe. Anyway, it seems that the eugenics wars may have, been dislocated in different parts of the planet. And maybe, I'm sure by the time of the post-atomic horror, all that stuff is just mixed and mashed up.
Yeah, and it's probably top secret, so the record keeping, all that. Okay, definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, I will. It's hard to do research in this time period, as we remember. So I think a few decades off are fine. I couldn't tell you when some sailing technology was invented. And if I said it was 1840 and it was 1850, I feel like that's close enough. It was 200 years ago,
Yeah, this might be a psychological component to her answer too.
Yeah, I mean, because she's also head over heels in love with this Northern Indian gentleman. Tim.
All right,
are you done?
You're done. We're coming into the chamber now. Open it back up for us.
I pressed the button like quite a while ago.
Oh yeah.
We stayed in the bridge.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry. We're in the antechamber.
I don't know. I just don't care. So, nothing metal happened either. So I'm gonna go 3 and 3.
3 and 3. Well, that's a big downgrade. I think I'm gonna give it a. There's some metal instances. There's breaking the glass unnecessarily and then figuring out how it works. There's remaining at a constant battle alert for no good reason. There's some snap ethnic judgments. So I'm going to give it a 5 here. I think quality-wise, it's a 6. It's building some suspense. It doesn't need to be like rousing action. There's a mystery here. Who is this man? Who are these people? What's going on? What's the deal with Marla MacGyvers? I think it's developing, nicely.
Yeah, I concur. The pace was appropriate. I'll also go 5 and 6.
All right. Away we go.
All right.
Okay. Now,
so we go ahead, Matt.
No, you go ahead.
All right. So we open with captain's log. They've been alongside Botany Bay for 10 hours. The boarding party's still there, completing examination, and then we open to the gang over the mysterious stranger. Yeah. And they're not going to revive anyone else until they see that this succeeds or fails.
Yeah, I think this is uncharacteristically cautious of them. I think they, if this was a pre-court martial Captain Kirk, he would just say, shut them all down and wake all these people up. But now, again, he's been affected. So they're waiting to see if this gentleman survives before they proceed. We've learned that 12 of these people have passed away, meaning that there's 72 left, and 30 of them are ladies.
The Ciati does not specify whether this is biological gender or...
He does not.
Yeah.
But, I think it's the 23rd century, so,
they figured it all out.
They figured that all out by now. So they're sort of fascinated. They really want to learn about the 1990s, especially because it's such an unknown period of time. Spock finds it necessary here to throw in some shade and just trash Earth again, which I would like to point out his mom is from Earth, you piece of shit. You're trashing your mom, too. They talk about how the Botany Bay was the name of a penal colony in Australia, and how that's a strange name for a ship.
We know that Kirk is an expert on penal colonies.
Yep, that's true. That is very true. We know that. So he's, of course, interested.
And I think this is a good example. I don't fallacy. It's not this. This is like Kirk is stuck on a decision path.
Yeah,
and I don't think he knows it yet.
Yeah, There's a lot of there's a lot of in this episode. I think there's a lot of, you only have one trajectory, and you're forced to be on that trajectory whether you choose it or not. They debate whether these are prisoners, but it's too advanced of a ship to be just for prisoners. It's very much of a puzzle. No one knows why they're there. And they decide to rig the ship for towing, and they're going to go to Starbase 12 to figure all this shit out. And then in sickbay, they have decided to dress Khan in his sexiest vest and open up his shirt as wide as possible. And he's recovering. And he
has hell of a heart valve action.
Yeah. Well, he's not just healthy, but he's great. His heart valves are amazing. His lungs are efficient.
There is something inside this man that refuses to accept death.
That's a pretty good metal lyric there.
It is.
I'm sure that's an Iron Maiden lyric somewhere. He nope, not at all. No, nope. Not at. I'm trying. Happy Iron Maiden, or Iron Juden, depending on when this is happening.
Who knows?
Who knows? Of course, they bring down Marla McGivers because why not problematize a recovering patient? She's very enthralled with him. She's talking to him, but then there's a weird Kirk-Marla interaction that I don't really understand.
Yeah, it's like this was not like Kirk's not necessarily wrong, but there was no precipitating incident here. But
it's like the passenger is awake, and she has already been acknowledged as the expert on this period of history. And so it seems like they would need her to interact with him. It's a weird time to give her performance review, just in the middle of sickbay. It's just like, what? It just doesn't make sense.
It's like so weird to McCoy doesn't even identify this as what it is, which is a performance evaluation. This is management.
This guy looks like Gene Simmons now, by the way.
Oh, we should point out that he does look like Gene Simmons. And I know you can't hear it, but he kind of talks like Gene Simmons. Oh, no. I mean, a Mexican Gene Simmons, but nonetheless, Gene Simmons. Okay, so...
all right, I got to dwell on... Okay, all right, so... Lieutenant, the safety of this vessel might depend upon your performance. The fact that you find a man strangely compelling to you personally, and that she says... Not personally, Captain. My profession is historian. Yep. And when I find a specimen from the past alive, I'm in the sheer delight of examining his mind.
That is what they trained me to do as a historian, for sure.
And so, do you think there's been a paradigm shift in historiography in the 23rd century? Are we more often finding the subjects alive, and it's more of a interview, ethnography?
I mean, it's a two-step process. So they say, like, when you become a historian, they say, step one, check if anyone's alive. And if they are, go be dazzled by them. But if not, you have to read some crummy old documents. But we always look around. We will say, hello. And we're usually not so lucky. But here, she's fulfilling the historian's creed of being, I guess, unprofessionally blown away by a person from the past. You know, if some 19th century person was here, I might be smitten.
It's probably the discipline of anthropology just went away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, all kinds of quackery left when people stopped having monetary careers. Okay. So they talk about her. Then she gets all goo-goo-eyed around him. And Kirk says, "Get out of here." All right, this is just weird. Khan wakes up.
This is where he does the completely rational, normal, and fully thought out yoga or Tai Chi thing.
Yep. Yep. So he's like kind of getting up. He looks at the instruments. He takes a scalpel, gets back into bed, and then immediately just grabs McCoy and puts the knife up to his throat. And I guess he asks where he is, what's going on. Definitely not hot immediately trying to take a hostage. And so there's a little bit of a kerfuffle. He demands to see the captain. And finally, we have our first meeting between the patient and Captain Kirk.
You glossed over the most metal part. When when McCoy's being choked and threatened with the knife, he said either kill me, either choke me or stab me. And then he instructed him the best way to kill him.
Okay, no, that is a good point. He did do that, which reminded me of later when the Borg just decide to kill people when they're under the command of Lore. He says some similar things. Yeah, so okay, they do that. And now they have this Kirk's Mr. Guy interaction. He just tries to figure out what's going on.
Khan's kind of a dick, and Kirk gets played here. Khan just does. I asked. He doesn't say his name, and then Kirk just spills everything, and thinks it might not matter to him. And then he tells him all the details, and then Khan gives him his first name.
Yeah. He says, "My name is Khan." I guess they were like, "Okay, cool. Thanks for trying to take the doctor hostage. Be on your best behavior. We're all leaving." And they leave Khan alone with McCoy again. But he very soon, I guess, gets up and decides to walk around.
One critical detail: Kirk, Khan asked for technical information since he has a lot of catching up to do, and Kirk, I think, just wants to kind of flippantly show off. Is like, "Here you go. It's on that screen."
I didn't take that as a move of braggadocio, but I like that reading of it. It's like, yeah, here's the fucking technical manual. Go crazy.
Yeah.
Stupid idiot. You don't even know what a dilithium crystal is. Okay, so Kirk and Spock then talk about this Mr. Khan. And Spock is a little concerned that he's reading so much of the technical library. And Spock is like, well, I think he's a Superman. Kirk is willfully arrogant and ignorant. He was like, those assholes lost the war. They're no good. And Spock says that's because they were too ambitious. And Kirk is weirdly intrigued. Sounds like a strange reaction when thinking about super Hitlers, but okay. And so they just let him do. They have some easy talks. All right.
Both Spock and Kirk are very familiar with the history of this relatively short period of the last 400 years.
I can't even talk about the banquet, Doug. You're gonna have to start this off for me. So they decide to throw him a meal, I guess.
Well, first we first get the scene where Marla visits.
No, that's after dinner.
No, it's not. It's right now before dinner.
Huh?
It's right now before dinner.
It's right now before dinner?
I'm watching it. They haven't had dinner yet.
Okay.
All right. So we cut to sick bay after Spock and Kirk on the bridge. Marla comes in, introduces herself as to Khan. He says, "I am told you participated in my rebirth."
Wow.
And then Khan starts some fairly aggressive seduction, which is welcomed.
Yep.
And he starts playing with her hair, and then shows her how to do her hair correctly.
Yep.
And then demands compliance to this from now forward.
But remember, Doug, she has a scientific interest in men, so it's okay.
The word of the past. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So then now, okay, Tim has thankfully corrected us. Now they're like getting ready for dinner. And McCoy is like, why are we giving him like all this grub? And whose idea of it? A fucking Marla McGivers. It's like, why don't we just have a welcome ceremony? Welcome to the 23rd century. And everyone was, I guess, like, okay. So they do. Now, finally, we go to Marla McGivers' quarters. And Khan shows up. And
it should be noted that nobody's concerned about what might be going on because there's no regulation against romance.
Oh, that's true. Oh, very good. Very good. Very good point. Although I believe in a previous episode there was very clearly a regulation against romance because that's his yeoman. But anyway, they're looking at all of the shit in Marla McGiver's room. He looks at gladiators. Khan likes that she rearranged her hair and she like gussied herself up. These are some people she admires. Richard the Lionheart, maybe. Leif Erikson, Napoleon. And then we see that she is painting a new picture. What's the picture? It's a picture of Khan in a turban for some reason. I've never seen him wear a turban, but apparently in her mind's eye, she does. And Khan is very flattered and honored, and tells her that such men dare to take what they want, and they have a smooch.
Then we cut to the dinner in the middle of it happening. And Kirk asks Khan questions about his past. It is noted the military language he uses. Spock references the war on tyranny that happened, which Khan does not recognize as a term describing the wars he participated in, it would appear. Khan speaks of the attempt to unify humanity, which Spock sounds like animals under one whip to him. At this point, actually, that comment triggers Khan's memory to remember what we're talking about here in the first place. And he offers an alternative narrative of this being a time of dreams, of great aspiration.
I mean, it's okay. He's sleepy. He's not in charge of his faculties. This is probably his first time drinking synthale. And so they finish dinner and they go back to Khan's quarters now. And a pick-me Marla McGivers shows up and says, hey, I'm here. I want to apologize for my asshole friends. And they again do some smooching, and they basically make out, and he kind of seduces her and convinces her to do what he says.
Right. It's kind of it's kind of masochistic.
Yeah.
S&M. This is very 50 Shades.
But he also straight up says, like, yeah, I'm going to mutiny the ship. And she's like, okay, I'll help, I guess.
He has all sorts of power moves by asking her, both to open her heart. Yeah, anyway, it's something.
Yep. Okay, that's the end of the act.
Tedious, boring, slow.
What about all the smooching?
Yeah, Tim, Think about that. Think about Man of War.
Creepy.
Okay, all right.
There's only one metal exciting thing that happened in that whole thing, so I'm gonna go 2 for quality
painting?
and 4 for metal.
Oh wow.
What's the metal thing? The open
The
discussion
instructing him how to kill him, how to
Yeah.
kill. He's like, you need to sever my carotid artery below my left ear.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that's pretty metal. It is a little tedious. They do a lot of talking. But I like the delicate dance of seduction. Well, it's not so delicate, but I like the clumsy dance of seduction.
Broad technicolor display of seduction.
I like everyone's total disregard for their jobs except McCoy. I mean, I like how he's on point and how everyone else is fucking up. I will give us a 4 quality and a 5 metal. I do like Tim, like the cut my fucking neck open. But you know, the painting's pretty metal.
Well,
pink.
Yeah, I think everything in here works. It's not they should have split this act and easily could have.
Or even just sped it up. I mean, I think they need to get on with it.
Yeah, we didn't need 2 scenes in Khan's quarters, 2 scenes in the dining hall, and then plus a bridge and a sickbay scene.
Yeah, okay. So that's that's true. You know, they could have cut to the chase. You're right.
But I think all the not entirely negative discussions of tyrants and authoritarian leadership was metal, like it or not. I won't even touch the S&M stuff. It's a 5 and 5, actually.
5 and 5. All right.
And we didn't really capture it, but the way they draw out Khan into the trick to admit he was not kicked off he didn't leave the planet voluntarily. That he believed in the unifying power of one individual.
But I feel like they just kind of blundered into that rather than actually coyly did it. But yeah, sure. I did like that. Open the door! All right. I was suffocating in there. All right. So now apparently someone turned on the Google machine and just Googled Khan eugenics wars and found out he was the last of the fucking genetically engineered tyrants to be overthrown. Something that I think Marla MacGyver's must have known and is just like totally like she's either a horrible historian, you know, like the equivalent of like Nahulian, right? Or she's like purposely being coy. I like to think that she is like a secret eugenicist sympathizer. Like she's an augment sympathizer. She's probably, it's going to find out, be like distantly related to the Noonien Soong family. So that's how I think. I think she's playing the whole Enterprise here.
It seems like the practice of history is much more emotional and experiential than what it aims to be now, at least.
So we learned that he was the ruler of Asia and the Middle East, a quarter of the Earth from 1992 to 1996. Scott admits he's a crypto fascist and says, I always had a sneaking admiration for this one, which is worrisome. One, because did Scotty know who it was the whole time? He was just at dinner. Like, are they not putting the pieces together? It's like, oh, I'm Mr. Hitler. And they're like, wait, Adolf Hitler? I mean, it just seems very, very naive of them to not.
And Kirk piles on and doubles down on Khan and the whole concept of authoritarian leadership.
Yep.
Spock is aghast at all of this. And Kirk's like, yeah, we have the streak of barbarism. It's appalling, but it's there.
Like, yeah. It's like, yeah, if you don't like it, go fuck yourself, Mr. Vulcan.
Then Scotty's back to, there are no massacres under his rule.
Oh my God, the trains ran on time.
And McCoy, no wars until he was attacked.
Oh my God, they're all just but even despite their love of fascistic rule, they do decide it's prudent to double his guard and put him on 24-hour supervision. So they do that. All right. This is now, we go to Khan's quarters, and we have another one of these weird instances where someone just decides to wear a uniform. So I don't know. He's just wearing and of all shirts, he's wearing a red shirt. So he didn't read the technical manual very well, or maybe it's like a political move, or maybe he's colorblind. I don't know. Maybe he's not such a super fan after all. But Kirk comes to visit him, and they reveal that they know who he is. It's unclear. It seems like he escaped. Because he says he left for a new life, a chance to build a new world. Maybe there was some kind of negotiation, but nonetheless, he admits to who he is, and Kirk interrogates him a bit and then leaves, and then he knocks the fuck out of the guard, and Khan is loose. Loose, I tell you. Loose.
Then he
you're supposed to that was the cue for the okay, thank you.
Well, and I think there was some good
coming a mile away
here. Khan is quite concerned about the lack of human improvement. Human evolution has stopped. He wouldn't be the first person to make that argument.
Nope.
And it's very concerning to him.
Yeah. So
and he does his breathing exercise.
Yeah, he does more Tai Chi. He summons up his. He's like powering up or something before he knocks out the guard. Meanwhile, Marla is holding the security chief hostage in the transporter room. And even though he's already kind of like being held hostage, Khan decides to just karate chop him into the back of the neck for good measure. Hopefully, Marla knows how to operate the transporter. But I guess she does because now a bunch of new people have woken up. And Khan is welcoming his buddies Otto and Joaquin, and they're ready to fight. There's a whole universe to win.
And they're all doing the same Tai Chi move.
Because they're you got to be limber. You don't want to be cramping up when you're conquering the universe. And so finally, again, the bridge crew finds out that Khan's escaped. And there's all kinds of chaos because the turbo lift doesn't work. The atmospheric controls are cut off, and there is now craziness going on the ship. It is chaos.
And we cut to engineering.
Mm-hmm. Because there's no override in engineering, I believe.
And Scotty, we see the eugenic soldiers in there surrounding Federation officers. Scotty answers Kirk and then gets immediately knocked out. Khan speaks to Kirk and informs him that the ship is mine. He shut off the life support to the bridge and jammed up all the exit routes. But he is willing to negotiate. Kirk knows about the Enterprise's intruder control system and orders all the decks flooded with neural gas. But Spock says it's inoperative. Mr. Khan was very thorough in her study of tech manuals.
He's jammed all the transmissions. The Enterprise is his. He just has to kill off the people on the bridge, and it will be a very quick ride to conquer the universe.
And he shuts off the air supply.
Mm-hmm.
Do we get set into the act?
That's the end of the act. See, Mr. Complainy, everything's too talky. Got a nice action-y act. Now he's not even finished
for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it ended right at the same time. The
Nice.
last act
Okay.
didn't end until you started talking about the next act.
Oh my God, that's
I
so
didn't even
long.
have to pause it
Wow.
because that one was long and tedious, and this one paid off a lot better.
Okay. Well, that means I'll just go ahead and say you gave it a 9 and a 9 and proceed from there, right?
Sure.
No, you can't just accept that.
You can't tell me what to do.
I just did.
It's a crackling act. Certainly the endorsement of dictatorships.
Yeah, everyone
without any consideration of the negatives is very metal.
All of your beloved Star Trek friends are crypto fascists.
And I love how Spock is so aghast at this, and they're like, completely normal. Sorry.
Calm down, wuss.
If you don't like it, you can leave Earth.
If you remember, there were no wars. He stopped them.
Yeah.
What's your score?
I'm going to go 8 and 8.
All right. 8 and 8.
And what's your score, Matt?
My score is, I'm going to give this a... There's lots of metalness. There's lots of karate chops to the neck. There's nothing as metal as like McCoy, though. So I have to give it a 6 metal, but I will give it a 7 quality.
You're right. My choice of a 9 for metal scores does seem high, so I'm going to go down to 8.5.
8.5 and 8.5.
No, just the metal. Just the metal. The quality.
Just the metal. Okay, sorry.
Isn't Khan's sort of dysgenic argument fairly metal, like it or not?
It is,
Isn't
but
pointing out that people aren't evolving and that you're superior to them?
I mean, it is, but I feel like it could be metaler.
Yeah.
It's kind of condescending, and not in a metal way, but in kind of like a weirdly like whiny way.
Well, he's impressed and kind of fetishizes technical advancement at the same time.
Yeah. But he's also like not as, for someone who's supposed to be charming and charismatic, I find him kind of like a dick at times. So it's hard to see why everyone's drawn to follow him.
Yeah. Maybe the last act will tell us.
Oh wait, are you really giving this a quality of 9?
Yeah.
All right.
So we open Kirk. It's court martial, Matt. You're right.
Yeah.
So we open with an uncharacteristic kind of captain's log where they're all suffocating, and then Kirk is very eager to dole out. Like everyone gets commendations, and he takes full responsibility for everything.
I do appreciate that rather than trying to get the air back on, he just decides to record a log entry. I think that's pretty metal. He's like, well, we're fucked.
Must make sure Spinelli gets credit.
Yeah. Give Spinelli a 4% raise. And then he passes out. They wake up, though, and they find themselves in the briefing room where... they have apparently been taken by Khan. They now control the ship. And they notice, though, all the assembled senior staff notice that someone is missing. Tim, do you know who's missing? It's not Spinelli. Kirk, good job. Okay, now, Tim, you have seen, up until this point, 21 episodes of the original series.
On the ding. Yeah.
Can you predict where Kirk is? Or at least what general situation he is in?
He's tied up and shirtless somewhere.
He is tied up and in a decompression chamber because rather than kill everybody, which seems like what a genetic Superman might think to do, he decides to pettily torture Captain Kirk, a man who, I guess, has not done him any immediate harm. There's no sort of animosity between them beyond just he happens to be the captain of the ship he's on. But for whatever reason, Khan wants to have everybody watch him suffocate.
Well, and we do miss there is a fairly brutal scene right before there where Khan slaps Uhura.
Oh, yeah, he does slap Uhura, and fucking Joaquin drags her to the table and also hits her. And
Marla asked to be dismissed.
Yeah, because she doesn't like this violence towards women. Apparently, she didn't read that part about 1999. And so
she was too enamored by the fact there was no war.
The nominal objective here is Khan is trying to get Spock to both save the ship and select a colony planet with a population willing to be led for them to be planted on.
Why are they still using inches of mercury in the future?
Because that's how you determine pressure. What other unit could you possibly use? Also, you can't hear it, but this is one of the times that DeForest Kelley keeps saying inches of mercury. It's kind of fun. That's over 4 inches of mercury. So he's being suffocated, and he wants to kill everybody. Again, I don't really understand why. I guess he just thinks that his Supermen are sufficient to run a starship, as we'll later find out they are. But I guess he really read those manuals. But it just seems like weirdly.
Still can't think in 3D though.
Oh yeah, well. But why are they doing this? I don't know. So luckily, who comes to save the day but Marla, who has decided that after immediately betraying all her friends, it's time to save the day. And she basically pulls Captain Kirk out of the chamber before it's too late. She gets Spock, and they say we have to take control of the ship again. And luckily, they can go to the intruder control circuit, and it's on the bridge, and we can get it and gas every deck they're on.
There's an immediate plan of action.
Yep, they know exactly what to do. Okay, again, I'm really confused by the name of Khan's men. Because we learned that he was ruling Asia and the Middle East, but his friends are Rodriguez, Ling, and McPherson. Okay. I guess they're like a multicultural gang, but there we go. And they sent crazy purple knockout gas everywhere. Everyone should be knocked out.
And Khan knows exactly the score, and as soon as he sees it out of the vent, he just runs.
Yep. And so even though all these other genetic supermen are idiots, Khan is the smartest of the smarties. So he then hatches a plan. He's going to figure out where the gas isn't. He's going to attack Captain Kirk and do all this stuff again. There's a little bit of a fight and like intercom controls going off. Khan is much stronger than Kirk.
And the generative AI that the surveillance system uses fails during the middle of this fight. It doesn't quite capture either of them perfectly.
That's very true. There seems to be some discrepancies. But we don't know. Doug, I'm sure the knockout gas is affecting the circuits a great deal.
I was hoping it was going to be purple.
I told you what it was.
White.
Oh man, maybe that's a film degradation thing. But I also
those bites. Yeah.
I also like how Kirk's solution to defeat Khan is just club him.
Right. He gets a giant steel bar that's like you just pull out of the thing, and yeah.
Like I really wish that he was like, genetically Superman your way out of this, and just hit him in the face with the bar. But yeah, so apparently that worked. And he knocks Khan unconscious, and they stop the overload. The ship is saved.
Really?
Everything is fixed. What?
Ding. What?
Ding.
Why did Khan bend the clay gun phaser instead of just shooting Kirk with it?
Well, because that's clearly, Tim, you are not a genetic Superman.
Oh, yeah.
As we did or will talk about in a related episode of Iron Maiden, sometimes the notion of torture is more torturous than torture itself.
And Khan was quite confident that he's 5 times as strong. Yeah. He just didn't count on that bar that you just pull out. He doesn't know it must be a new addition. Yeah,
apparently this tritanium alloy is exactly 6 Kirks strong.
All right, so we get a captain's log where the control of the Enterprise has been regained. Kirk is very tormented here after all this, because it would be such a waste to put Khan and his people at a reorientation center, let alone McGivers. So Kirk starts his own tribunal or some kind of after-action thing. They're all in dress uniform.
Yep.
And the tapes are being recorded. And then under Kirk's authority, apparently without really consulting anyone, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I'm just saying he never radioed in. This is his unilateral decision that literally will come to bite him in the ass. But yeah, like, could he have called somebody? Did he have to do it right then and there? It seems a little rash.
Like, well, these are prime human specimens. It would be such a waste for them just to end up in a reorientation camp.
Yeah.
And then again, he's very obsessed over the ship's name, which seems to be informing his decision path. So a planet is selected by Kirk unilaterally, City Alpha 5.
Yep.
Spock, who seems to not approve of this and be subtly discouraging, describes the conditions. And then Kirk notes it's not much different from Australia's Botany Bay at the beginning, and that those people conquered a continent, and challenges Khan to conquer a world or tame a world. This is
which he already did, for the record.
Oh, to tame a land, you say?
Oh.
Then there's the uncomfortable matter of Marla McGivers, which they just solved by sending her with Khan.
Yeah, it's like, so we're going to just send you with these people. Good luck surviving. Don't get any brain worms.
And we learned that Scotty is not well read on Milton.
Yeah.
And then the delivery of Spock's comment, because he doesn't approve of this.
No.
And he's just like, it would be interesting to return to that world in 100 years and learn what the crop sprung from the seed you planted today. And I think he kind of means it in a negative, a skeptical way, which isn't how Kirk takes it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kirk is missing the kind of laden judgment that Spock is giving him. He's like, so to review, you just put 72 super Hitlers on their own world with a lady who you're responsible for, and they know we're out there, and you basically still give them a spaceship, or at least parts of a spaceship. What the fuck are you doing, Captain?
Yeah, there'll be a Patreon exclusive where we talk about what the crap is on City Alpha 5. Because I thought they got rid of the ship.
No, they have the cargo carriers, which I assume were part of the ship. But maybe they did. Maybe they kept. That's a weird fuck you. They're like, here's some cargo carriers. We're taking your ship away. I hope you got all your stuff. But remember, they have something says Botany Bay because Chekhov, who is nowhere around here, by the way, met Khan in a off screen and knows what Botany Bay is, and they recognize each other. I guess they just cut that scene out. So so that happened too. Maybe he was one of the people. Maybe he was on the other side of the camera for the dinner. I don't know.
I think, of course they bring
that must be
Chekhov.
I feel like the Vulcan solution to this whole thing would be like put them down on the planet and then just like send 1,000 photon torpedoes and just be like, eugenics war is over. But no, they didn't.
Well, and Khan does his best, as we will see, to deliver on exactly what Kirk requests.
Yeah.
The challenges.
Yeah. He did indeed.
All right, hit the chamber.
So, I don't know. The 9 and 9 last time seemed pretty generous, so I'm going. But this was pretty metal and pretty good, so I'm gonna temper the previous 9 and 9 amended to 8.5 and 9 to 8.5 and 8.
8.5 and 8. I think that's right.
I don't think any further explanation is needed. It was a good.
No.
It was good, and there was fighting, and they made a critical error by not killing them all. So
yeah. I mean, well,
Kirk has created his own. He's set into place the death of his son, and not entirely out of nowhere, right here. And I don't think he ever has any real awareness of this
at any point. Even when he's screaming about the Klingon bastards, it's like, you killed your son that you never knew you had, Captain Kirk. You killed your son. And I'm not talking about that dude that Damon Buck found, Doug. I'm talking about Jack Crusher. But I'm not talking about that Jack Crusher, who he also killed. But anyway, Tim is right, but he's also wrong. This is a 8.5 and an 8, but he got it backwards. It is 8.5 quality. This is a very quality satisfying act, but it's only 8 metal, because for all the bashing Khan's face in with a metal bar, which I fully support, this weird, if Kirk was truly... Khan would never have let Kirk live. And
what about setting up your own tribunal and just spitballing it because you like the name of a ship?
I mean, I'm sure that Khan would have given a long-winded speech, and I think he was as Kirk was suffocating. But Khan was smart enough to know that you cannot let your enemies live, and ultimately that weakness led to many downfalls, as we'll see. So I'm sorry, when the metal piper came to be paid, Kirk, he's still very rattled from the events of court-martial, couldn't make the metal decision and obliterate those 72 people from orbit like he should have.
I'm going to go 9 and 9.
All right. Okay, well, we are now at the point where we compare it with everybody else. This is, weird statement. Space Seed, Doug, pretty good episode of Star Trek. Can't believe it. We gave it a 78.2. It is not the best episode, but it is pretty high up there. So far, our medalist episode ever watched is the aforementioned Court Martial. Other episodes that are more metal than Space Seed include Arena, The Galileo 7, very close to it are things like the Corbomite maneuver, Dagger of the Mind. But all in all, great episode, very high ranking, top 4 or 5 of what we've seen so far. I think there's a bit of genetic perfection in there.
I see what you did there.
I concur.
All right. Well, until next time, Metal Nation, get your fucking second act together. God damn, fuck.
Cast them down.
Maybe we should review albums in 5 acts.
Yeah, actually, can you save that second act thing for every Iron Maiden review we ever do?